How's it going, YouTube? Today we're back with a brand new video. So in this video we're going to be doing a little bit of outside work. This plinth was part of a survey that was done for this property, and the survey called for the side part and the back to be took off and redone. Now, there was nothing particularly wrong with this. There was some bits and pieces that were boast, but other than that, it wasn't too bad. I think that these were a sort of an afterthought on these houses. I don't think these were original, or if they were original, they were redone at some stage, because the one on the property facing this one was perfect, but this one was sort of up and down all over the place, and there was some parts of it boast, but as I say, the majority of it was okay. So on the last video that I stripped render off, people asked me why I was using this little battery Kango, or this little battery powered SDS, and the reason for that is that I did actually have two full-sized Kangos, but I'm not 100% sure, but something happened to both of them. I think it was the moisture in the back of the van. I got till the sort of the inside, and blew them, both of them. So I don't often use Kangos, and that's the reason why I'm not spending the money to buy another one. I'm going to need to, obviously, at some stage, because this is a bit of a nightmare having to use this little drill. But I have another bit of outside rough cast white dicing, so I'm actually going to buy another Kango for doing that. Yeah, so what we're doing here is we're just stripping this off. We've left the front on because it wasn't part of the survey, and then we've actually stripped right down the side. So I'm going to actually let the video play through here, and I'm going to come back when we're getting the first coat on. Okay, so now that we've took all the render off, what we're going to do now is this is a mixture of SBR, water, sand and cement. So the way I usually mix it is a cup of SBR, sorry, 2 cups of SBR to 1 bucket of water. We have pink waterproofer and a little bit of plasticizer. The plasticizer isn't necessary, but I do put it on. And then we mix, it's roughly about a half a bag of sand and a full bag of cement. And it gives you like this paste. And all I do is I put it on with like a dustpan brush. I find it's the best way to do it. And what this does is actually just gives the brick a key. The SBR is a really strong adhesive, and mixed with the cement, which makes it set, and the grit from the sand, it's a good way to key your wall before you actually start to render it. So after this stage, we're going to first coat it. This job was done over several days. This was the first day basically. We stripped it off, and then we done this, and then we put our first coat of render on. So this first coat is only about an inch deep. Doesn't really need to be any deeper than that. The original plinth that was here was roughly about an inch and a half, 2 inches. So we've stuck to about an inch, and then that means we can put a finish coat of around an inch. Yeah, so this is all straightforward. The mix that I'm using here is 4-to-1, so that would be 4 sand to 1 cement. And I actually used my drill. So the drill that I use here is a Rafina Mega Mixer, I think is the name of it. It's 1800 watt, and it's a 110 volt, so it's basically a site mixer, one that you can use on site. The reason I use this instead of the DeWalt cordless mixer, this is a lot stronger and lasts longer. So the battery powered one will mix this stuff up, will mix the sand and cement, but it's a lot harder on the drill than it is for this, because this is made for like sort of mixing heavy stuff. I haven't used a cement mixer, although I have a cement mixer. I don't use it on smaller jobs like this because the amount of time it takes to clean it out, set it up, clean it out, all that sort of stuff, it's just a lot easier to use a bucket and mix the sand and cement. I roughly get about, you can see the blue bag sitting holding the tarp down. You get roughly about 2 bags of sand to 1 bag of cement into the bucket that I use. So these are 40 kg bags of sand, and obviously the cement I think they're 25 kg, so that's a 4-to-1 mix. But yeah, so we're putting it on thin, and we're leaving it just short of where it needs to finish. You'll see the reason why we do this when we're actually finished coating it. It's pretty difficult working around all these pipes and stuff. So when you can, you move the pipes out of your way. But realistically, you're not going to be able to take these pipes away. That would be the ideal scenario, is taking the pipe away completely. But obviously, we can't do it here. It's also always a good idea to cover up what you're doing. I used to just cover the ground with dust sheets, but a lot of the time, especially if it rains, the mortar gets washed through the sheets and stains anything underneath. Where these dust sheets, they don't let any, or these tarpaulin, they're just tarpaulin. They're actually linked in the description. I bought these from Amazon, and they're really strong, good, solid tarps. They're brilliant for this kind of work. I also used them inside, and I think you got like 5 for £30 or something, which makes it a pretty good deal as well. Yeah. So once we get our first coat on, we're actually going to run our scratcher. So our scratcher is a draper scratcher, and basically what you're doing is you're putting a key in this coat of plaster. It leaves it so when you come to render the next day, that render has something to hold on to. The problem with render, and the reason why I don't do a lot of it, especially sort of smaller jobs, is that this job I've had the price for 2 days, and then obviously the reason for that is because I can strip it off, scratch, and scratch it in one day, but I can't finish coat the same day, so that's why we had to price it for 2. Yeah. So the next clip you'll see here is just me running the scratcher. It's just a draper scratcher. This is also linked. Okay, so that's just done with the first coat. As you can see, we painted on some SBR and cement together. We set the bead on the angle. Yeah, that's it, ready for its final coat. I'm going to give it a couple of days to dry, and then we'll come back and we'll finish it, but it's going to be the next clip for you. So this is about, it's actually 2 days later here, and what you're going to see me doing is using some paper tape. The reason I use paper tape is because it's really sticky, and it comes off easily. But what we're doing is we have to put an angle on the top of the render, so like so the water sort of runs off the plinth. So what we do is we put the tape so that we can run the plaster up past where it needs to be, and the tape stops the plaster from staining the red brick. It's actually a really important tip. If you're doing this in like an old red brick that's not being finished above, and it keeps everything nice and tidy. So what you're going to see me doing here is second coating. So it's going to be about 2 inches. It's going to be about an inch, which makes the render around 2 inches deep, and then I'm just going to use my straight edge to straighten it as I go. So I'm just going to let it play through. Okay, so as you've seen, we arrived and we've coated and straightened this whole wall. I'll show you the whole thing. And then this little bit here still has to be straightened. Yeah, but basically now we've just to wait to rub it up. There's bits of it still soft. This bit that I done first is starting to set off a little bit. Up at the top here is ready to go, so I'm just going to rub it up, sponge it, and then I'm going to cut a little wedge on top like here to match the original base and let the water fall off. Okay, so what you're going to see here now is me rubbing it up. So basically what we're doing is we're using a float. That's what you see, the tool that I'm using, and we're rubbing it along the face of the plaster. This does two things. It gives you the finish, the nice finish that you see of render that's rubbed up smooth, but the other thing that it does is it takes any lumps or bumps. Sometimes you'll see videos or pictures of walls with light cast across them, and you can see like shadows on the wall from like the bumps and stuff. And the reason that happens is people that don't know how to do this step correctly. There's a sort of running joke in the plastering world that there's skimmers and then there's plasters. And the difference would be skimmers are people that just skim in houses on building sites, but plasters are people that can do basically any of the sort of wet trades. So like my grandfather, he would have done plaster and render, but then he would have done like coving, bricklaying, sort of paving, anything where you were working with render, cement, gypsum, any of that sort of thing. But yeah, that's the joke that the skimmers can't do this kind of work, and there's nothing really hard about it. It's just knowing how to do it right is the main thing. Having a good float is a big part of it. I've went through a million different floats, but the main thing that I found is that most of them are sort of the same, but it's how you prep them. So how I prep my floats, so I'll actually get, when I buy a new float, I'll use it sort of inside, like, so you would use it like rubbing up render inside, because it's being covered with skim. You put a few nails in it. People call it a devil float. It basically gives you a sort of a scratch. It lets you scratch render up inside basically, but because I don't do that much sand and cement internally, I don't have a chance to break in my trowel that way, so, or my hawk that way, or my float that way. So another way to do it is with some sandpaper. So if you're going to do it this way, when you buy a new float, it comes with like a honeycomb pattern on the face of the float, so the part that touches the wall. And to get the float to rub sand cement up properly, you need to get that off. So what I use is some like heavy grit sandpaper. Sanding discs are a good job for it, and you need to sand that honeycomb off. You also need to round the edges. The edges are sort of quite square, and the squarer the edge is, the more lines it'll pull, and the worse your work will look basically. So when I have a float that's coming till the end of its life, and how that happens is they actually wear thin. over time they'll wear out, and they get thinner and thinner until they eventually break. So when they're getting to the point where I think they're going to break, I'll buy another float. I'll sand it in, get it all sanded, ready to go, and then I'll alternate. So I'll use the brand new float to rub over the sand cement the first time, and then I'll come back with the older float that's nice, that leaves a perfect finish. And what that does, it'll just break the float in properly. You can get it near enough with sandpaper, but obviously you won't get it perfect, and there's no substitute to putting the float on the wall and letting it wear itself into the right shape. So yeah, that's what I do with my floats. So after this, what we'll do is we will use our sponge. Well, this is the first time I've floated this, so I'll actually float it for a second time, but then we'll use our sponge. You can see it sitting there. We wet our sponge and we just sponge the surface. I'll talk about that when we get to it, but I just wanted to say, if you're enjoying the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. The biggest way you can support me is by doing that, because the more likes and subscriptions that I get, the higher it pushes me in YouTube's algorithm, and then that obviously puts me in front of more people. And because my channel's monetized, it's basically, you get paid for it, so that's the best way of supporting it. The second best way of doing it would be becoming a channel member. When you become a member, you actually get some extra things that people that are watching this video don't get. So first of all, this video that you're watching has already been live for 2 weeks, so you could have watched this 2 weeks ago. There'll also be another 2 videos, because these are put up like 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks in advance. So there's other videos there to be watched. You also get an extra video every month. This video isn't seen by anybody else on YouTube. The only other people that see this will be the people on Patreon. So and then you can go to my Amazon affiliate links. The affiliate links, you click on it, you buy a tool. As I mentioned, some of the tools that I've actually used here today, you pick a tool, you buy it, and I get a small percentage. It's a good way to support me without actually giving me any money. So so you can see here, I'm using a small tool. I've peeled the paper off, so you have a nice, clean, fresh, crisp edge here. And we just use our small tool, and we cut a slight angle on the top of the plaster, and that just allows any moisture to run away, and doesn't get trapped and gets down and behind, and sort of blows the plaster off anytime there's a frost. That's the reason we do that. Yeah, after we do this, we use our sponge. You see, I'll just give it another wee float there, just to get it nice and perfect. But I'll give it a sponge, and the sponge actually brings the aggregate to the surface. So the aggregate in the sand, it brings it to the surface, and it leaves like the nice finish that you see with rubbed up render, basically. But yeah, I'm just gonna let the rest of this video play out. Okay, so that's us finished for the day. We'd actually get paid and left, and it started lashing, so we nipped back quickly, and we've covered up around the back just to make sure that it didn't wash off. But yeah, straightforward enough. Rendered that plinth. Yeah. And that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. You can become a channel member. Channel members get their names on videos. They get an extra video a month, and plus all the videos that you're watching have been up for 2 weeks already. If you want to support me, you can go to the link in the description. There's a Patreon, Buy Me Coffee, and then my Amazon affiliate links. The way the affiliate links work, you click on the link, you buy a tool, and I get a small percentage of it basically. And then you can check out all my social media: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, yeah, YouTube Shorts as well. And that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching.